Okay, so Pōmarie everybody. Welcome to our Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board meeting for the 22nd of May 2024. We'll open with karakia timatanga. Mā te whakapono, mā te tumanako, mā te tiro, mā te whakarongo, mā te mahi tahi, mā te whakamomori, mā te aroha, ka taia e mātou. By believing and trusting, by having faith and hope, by looking and searching, by listening and hearing, by working and striving together, by sheer desire and determination, by all being done with compassion, we will succeed. Right. First up, we have apologies. So I think we have everyone except for Kane. So can I please move that the apologies for non-attendance of Community Board Member Titchener be received? Jill, to second, all in favour? Against? Carried. So I moved it. Yeah. Right, disclosure of members' interests. Have we got anyone that needs to disclose anything for tonight? No, thank you. Public forum, that's easy breezy. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone wanting to see us tonight. Yeah. We might have to pay people, rent a crowd or something. Okay, so we will move to item 4, confirmation of the minutes on pages 8 to 16. Is everybody happy that those?
On the top of page 3 at the top, and except for Rowie, the O and the A are reversed.
Okay.
What?
Ra-ording.
Oh, right.
It's ra-ording.
I'm being clear. Sounds like I've read it.
Good spotting.
So we'll add on to the end of there, subject to the correction of typographical errors at the end.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so can I please have somebody please to move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board confirms the open and public excluded minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of April 2024 as circulated with the agenda as subject to a typography correction of the typography error as a true and correct recording of proceedings. Lou and John. Pardon? Oh, no, he wasn't at the meeting. No, you can't. Sorry. So John to move it, Bruce to second it. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. Oh, hello, Sharon. Were you wanting to just come to keep us company? Thank you. Oh, thank you for that. Much appreciated. Okay. Let's keep going then. Item number 5, the Treasury report on pages 17 to 19. Is everybody all happy with that? We've got $1,239 sitting there.
Can I ask a question in the prior yes commitments? When did the sharing shed and the Coronation of King Charles's event, when do they drop off? But there's nothing there, there's as such except a resolution number.
They were money that came back that we didn't end up spending, wasn't it? Remember, we allocated some money for the King's coronation, but there was money available through council, and then the money that we'd allocated to the sharing shed was when Sally did the signs for us, and so we didn't actually pay for signage. We used the laminated ones.
Oh, looking at those, I think
But they probably could come off, couldn't they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the row is entirely nil, isn't it? So I should imagine they can drop off. Yeah, there's no need for it to be there.
And I just wanted to also note that we will be able to, I think we've got final costs in for that town cleanup day. And in the resolution that you passed, you said that we could return any unspent money to uncommitted fund. So we'll make sure that that is tidied up for your next Treasury report next month.
Oh, cool. Okay. And I'm hoping to catch up with Bill at some stage. So I'll ask again about the Rangiowawhia Historic Trust and what's happening with the waharoa out at Lake Naroto, or Wairoto as Bill likes to call it. So that's probably the only part things there. Anything else for the Treasury report? No, okay, let's keep going then. Can somebody please move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receive the report of Nada Milne, Financial Accountant, titled Treasury Report for the period ended 30th of April 2024. Sally, someone to second it? John, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okie dokie, that brings us to item number 6, the Community Board Conference, which is on page 20 and 21. That's this year down in Wellington. And we get to choose who would like to go, who's available on those dates. And yeah, so just a bit of discussion about firstly who might like to go, who's available, and where we go. So comments, desires, availability. I believe we're only allowed to send one person.
Because I go to other conferences. So,
Yep.
You know, so it's kind of on track. I think it should be a community board meeting.
Yep.
Rather than people like us. So I think you learn a lot of skills. I mean, I've been to local government conferences and so we have been really, I think we get more out of it. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's tying in with the LGNZ conference as well.
I'd be happy to put my hat in the ring
Yeah.
to say, yes, I can make myself available for those dates if nothing else untoward comes up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else interested in going? Well, we need a decision, we need a commitment now because, and we need a commitment. It can't actually be or untoward unless it's like a sickness or an illness thing, because once the tickets are booked,
Yeah.
you are the person going. Otherwise, there's extra costs and things. 21st and 23rd of August.
No,
Which
during
I
the
think
week.
so. I think that's early week, isn't it?
Yes, I think
Is it a Tuesday or Wednesday? Or?
it is, I think it is, the Wednesday through to the Wednesday, the 21st through to Friday, the 23rd of August.
Oh.
So, well, we need to decide. So how are we going to, how do you want to decide? Because only one person can go. So, yeah. You need to make a decision. Sorry, no, sorry, I'd love to let you, but you can't. Sorry, no, you can't. Sorry, no, you can't. Sorry, no. Thanks though, but sorry. Once the public forum's finished, then, yeah.
You want to go down south?
I can say, I'll withdraw and you can go, John. Save all arguments. You go. I'll go next time, 2 years' time.
Okay. All right, so is everybody happy for John to go? Okay, so then we see no one's talking. We'll move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board A receives a report of Joe Greed, Manager of Governance, titled Community Board Conference, and B approve that John, board member, I've had a blank.
John Wood.
Wood, thank you. I remembered the John part, I just couldn't remember his last name. I've had a big couple of days, I'm afraid. Thanks. Need that. Attend the 2024 New Zealand Community Boards Conference held in Wellington on the 21st to the 23rd of August, 2024. So can we have someone to move that, please? Bruce, Lou, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, the chairperson's report is item 7. So I'll take it as read. I just wanted to have some discussion around the concept of the Kaipaka Park and just get an idea as to whether this is something that the community board would be interested in investigating further. I see that staff have made a couple of comments in regard to talking with mana whenua. I just wanted to say that quite some time ago, I have had some initial discussions with Bill around the idea, but I hadn't gone any further because I didn't see the point at this stage until whether we had some support for it or not, because there's no point just going and going on and on about it if it's not even something that anybody wants to entertain. There has been some initial just feeling out with the Transpower. So they own the substation, and also with Waipa Networks, who own the piece of land on the other side of the substation, on the racecourse side of the substation. So you get an idea of where I'm talking about. And both of those parties have, indicated some interest and would like to, hear a little bit more and what possible ideas there might be. So it's really just saying, is this something that we'd like to investigate? I'm happy to help with the, basically look after those initial discussions and see where we go, and I can just bring it back, but I can't do it without seeing what you guys thought first and if you're supportive of it or not. So any comments, thoughts?
Do you think
warnings?
that Transpower and Waipa Networks might contribute a little bit of funding towards it?
Could well do as well, and that's the thinking behind it, that because they're both big companies, it's part of their, what's the right word I want, Joe? Social good to actually do things for the community. So I think there's a very good chance that they would be happy to contribute in some way to help make the project happen. So anyone else got any comments?
I believe that that's the actual location of the Kaipaka part, from what I gather, or
Not where
closer.
not where the Transpower is. It's around the other side and part of the Waipa Networks
Right,
property.
but it's the close proximity.
Very, very
And
close.
so therefore it would be a great utilisation of that space and representation for
Yeah,
the mana whenua. That's my view.
But of course, I mean, we definitely would need to be speaking with mana whenua to see what their, just exactly how and what they would like to, how that would pull together for them. But we've got to start somewhere. So,
Yeah,
Bruce, you had a thought?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing if you can progress it as much as you can within reason of involving anyone else, and then hopefully get the community behind it.
Yeah, it's not like it's going to cost us anything. It's only a few conversations to see what kind of feeling we get.
You'll never find out.
Yeah. Yep. All right. We don't need to move a motion for that, to go and have some discussions about it, do we?
I think it's just initial discussions, and then once you have those initial discussions, if there's a proposal that you want to bring back, then I think that's when we look at kind of some further wording and another chair's report to kind of clarify what the next steps are, because I think it's early days, isn't it?
Cool, that's all right. And then the only other thing I did need to have a chat with you about was the ideas for a date for the next cleanup day in the town. So have we got any suggestions for a date? I think initially Kane had suggested September or October. Have we got a preference for one or the other? And do we want to allow a little bit of funding to put aside to promote it and plan it like what we did last time? Basically do the same as we did last time, I suppose.
And excuse me, Ange, did we say that yes, we had another clean-up coming in Te Awamutu, but we also wanted to do one in Kihikihi as well?
It was what?
So maybe we could talk about them both,
Yeah, I just put clean up the town day as a generic heading. But yeah, that's exactly what I recall the conversation, because we sort of said, well, if we're going to do it here, we should do something at Kihikihi as well.
So can I start the ball rolling by saying maybe October? And I don't know whether we do them both on the same day, one, for 2 hours here and an hour there or something like that, and just do it all on one day when people are available, and then you can take all the rubbish on the same day as well.
Yeah, that would have been my leaning, but unless someone's got a better reason to not do it that way.
Just for the, just to relate to the TA Sports venue, probably late September would be best. We do get a lot of summer coats coming in early October, starting out, touch being one and lacrosse and quite a few of the others coming on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's quite a lot of
If we-
codes coming in and starting their practices and trainings on Sunday.
If we were going to use TA Sports again.
Just say late September would be good for their venue.
Okay, that's worth keeping in mind if we start there. Joe?
I'm just thinking if you want to kind of sound it out and bring a report back next time with dates and estimates of cost this time, or do you want to?
Oh, yeah, I was going to try and tidy out and basically
You
just
can.
go based off our previous.
You had a lot of sponsors with paying for the waste things last
Oh,
time.
we
and I
did
think
too,
if you
yeah.
just-
Maybe we should try and sort that out first. That's a
Yeah,
good
because
point.
they-
See if we can get, I'm pretty sure they were quite keen to support it again, but maybe we should clarify that. But if we can sort of get a date and then maybe Kane is happy to follow up with his sponsor, you know, with the waste management, I think it was, I hope that's correct, and follow that up again. But I just wanted to get a date penciled in if possible.
Sally's just looking up when
I
the
was-
school
I was-
holidays are.
Well, actually, I wasn't looking at the
Oh,
school
no?
holidays. I was
Oh.
just looking at the calendar. So our meeting will be on the 25th of September. Do we want to do it the following Sunday after, which will be the 29th of September? Or,
Is it, but, you know, just thinking there won't be events on in school holidays, you know, if we. do
Is
like a
that
Saturday
during the
morning.
school holidays?
Pardon?
I don't know. Anyone know when the school
You know,
holidays
there's no
are?
rugby or anything on.
Hang on,
for
I'll
school
just see if I've
holiday.
got it in my calendar, because I did put in a whole lot of school holiday ones. Month. May, June, July, August, September. So university's on from 31st to the 7th, but I didn't put in the school one. Wait a minute, no, that's still GS mid. I'm thinking. Did you find it? Sorry, when is it?
Apparently the 28th of September. is the-
Okay, school
the start of the
holidays.
holidays.
So I reckon the 29th would be great because it's a few days after our meeting. And then we can finalise everything at the meeting and bang in on Sunday, the 29th.
Yeah, I think that is probably fine for me. If that sounds like a good option, shall we go with that? Okay, yep. Right, so let's set that date for the 29th of Sunday, the 29th of September, for our town's clean-up day. Sounds like clowns. Towns. Okay, cool, that's done. There's nothing else anyone wanted to, had any comment about the chair report? I think it was pretty much just a really more of an update on what I've been up to. Okay, that done. Let's move, we don't need to move the date, do we? That's all good. Okay, so let's receive the report of Angela Holt, Chairperson of the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board, titled Chairperson's Report, May 2024, and B, receives the staff response to the Chairperson's report. And I someone to move that. Jill, second. Yeah. Sally, all in favour? Against? Carried. Cool. Item 8 is on page 26. Board member reports from meetings attended on behalf of the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board. So I suppose Lou and Bruce, as our council laws, we'll start with you guys.
Something ready for you. So no problem. So after our last community.
Bruce, Mike.
Prior to our last community board, we met during that day, the whole council, to interview the last two candidates for the chief executive's position. And I think we've got a really good one now. So well, hopefully Steph Sullivan's She was what I chose. I suppose we all did, but it was unanimous. So that was prior to the community board meeting. Then we had a strategic planning. The first one of the month was basically a few reports, a district growth quarterly report. We went on the community board 2.0 reporting and went through Stephen Finlay's report as well. Those are the basic two things of that. On to the service delivery, we had the Waipaha Community Facilities Trust 6-monthly report. We also, community, Waipaha, why did I put community? I've done that twice. Then there's a Transportation Act activities report. Then we discussed the better off funding, and I'm not too sure, Ken, how that's progressed. We were thinking if we could keep the better off funding that we've got and put it to water, that would be a good use of that money. I think it's gone back to the government, has it, as a problem?
Excuse me, yeah, look, I understand that is the government direction and certainly the direction of travel for council to push that money through to waters projects if they, for any funds that obviously have not already been spent or committed to the original projects, yeah.
That'd be fantastic for us if we can utilise that money in that direction. And then we had a request from the Cambridge Tree Trust for a vehicle that council no longer uses, so we thought that's a great cause for them. I think it's the one that had done the most miles or kilometres. So that's all good. We thought that's a great, or Ken did, or we all did. So that's the finance. Oh, sorry, I jumped a little bit there, but it doesn't matter. Then we had a council meeting. We discussed, we discussed basically a council as an anchor institution that we're in a unique position to be responsible for, to adding creating public value, delivering the full wellbeings, etc. There was comment on the Waikato Regional Council long-term plan. And no, it was not discussion. It's on the books with the electoral legislation and the Maori Wards Bill, which is the two things which we haven't discussed yet, which will come up and establish possibly the Maori Ward prior to the elections, and if not a binding poll to be held, but we've got to discuss that yet. Okay. And there's discussion on the Ahuaki Community Spatial Plan changes and a whole lot of community leases. So it's all busy.
Cool, thanks, Bruce.
I'll carry on from there. I went along to the Memorial Park meeting at the Workers Club, so just listened to all of the people there and interesting. On the 10th of May, we went to Munga Territory School for a hui with all the local iwi. Very interesting and open. And I think it was a good learning curve for all of us, so everybody was quite open and free. So that was well done. We are looking at the moment recreating senior council, and I've been appointed the Te Awamutu coordinator, and we think that we'll separate senior council from Cambridge so that Cambridge will have their senior council sort of a little bit separately from us, address their issues, and we look at our issues within Te Awamutu at senior council level. Had a lot of support from that initially from Rotary and
What do you mean by a senior council?
Oh, senior council is something we've had for years, but it's just dropped away in the last 2 years. It's where we meet with senior people, senior organisations, etc., in a formal position around this table, and they are presented with everything that we are operating and doing within council. They can ask direct questions of the councils and mayor usually, and have staff here as well. That has operated for a number of years, but it failed away just in the last 2 years.
COVID knocked it on the head.
COVID, that's what it was. COVID knocked it on the head.
They just had one recently though.
No, I'm organising, the organisational structure won't start till possibly October, November. We'll look at having 2 or 3 meetings perhaps a year, but as issues come up, I think this has risen a little bit from the Canadian connections and other things that have existed in our community.
Public invited to those meetings, Lou?
It's invitation only, so you have organisations that we just invite, so not actual public as such, but we can address issues, but So I've just left it open. At this point, the format can be discussed, put it that way.
Right.
It's an open format at the moment, so we can work on that. And I'll be attending, hopefully, in September 19th and 20th, the RMA, Resource Management Act conference down here to keep us up to date with but we haven't got an act at the moment, so that'll be interesting.
Nice.
Is that enough?
Oh, sorry, did you have a question,
Yeah,
John?
no, with the senior council, I have been on those meetings as an RSA representative, and I found them very informative, you know, and things. We've done the odd bus trip as well, which gives us a better idea of what's happening within the district as well. So, you know, it's the likes of the RSA and Rotary and Lions and things like that have got older people that are interested in knowing what's going on. But yeah, I support what Lou's trying to do again.
Oh, nice. That sounds good. I had a quick question just in regard to our, how the deliberations went in regard to community board, and our submission.
Well, speak to that, Ken.
I
That
presume
has
so,
been
because it
released
was
public now.
live and recorded.
Yes,
so
you absolutely can do, because
I just
it was,
haven't-
yeah,
Thank you.
as you say, it was a
I
public
just
meeting
haven't
and it
had
was
time
live.
to
Yeah.
sit down and read it, because I
The,
haven't been home to do it.
We have the key, firstly for your community boards, all right?
Sorry, the what?
Community boards
Yeah.
here, like us, okay, we've had an increase of 5,000 for our discretionary fund.
Oh, yeah.
okay?
Well, a lot of
But
it's
you're
better than none.
also now taking up the role of the money that we've been paying for the Anzac Day, and they've actually equalised that out to Cambridge as well. So, so the money that I was getting for Anzac Day is now aligned to the community board, okay, as part of our income. So as I say,
So,
that's the
oh,
road.
hang on a minute. So instead of it going to the RSA, it's come to the community board?
No. Instead of it going out of the funds, going out of discretionary funds or being aligned to the community. I probably got this wrong.
I'm
Can
confused.
do it.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I get
yes.
mixed up on.
So so look, just to clarify, through the chair. So in terms of the Te Awamutu side, it's essentially it was actually 5,500, Lou. So basically, council has been contributing $2,000, or in that order, to the sound system for use at the ceremony over here. So and over and above that, 5,500 extra allocation to your discretionary grants fund. I mean, recognising obviously that your discretionary grants fund was reduced considerably, but we're putting 5,500 back, together with that, together with continuing council committing to continue to the 2,000 for the
sound system.
For the sound system,
Right,
and that evens things up with with what was awarded to Cambridge,
Right.
for them to continue doing the Anzac Day
Run the
services.
Anzac Day. Right, that now makes
If that
sense.
if that
Okay.
makes sense, yeah.
Yep, okay. Yep,
The
because
other
they
one-
get 7.5 or something, don't they, to
Yeah.
to
But
do-
that's-
Yeah, they do.
have a
It's
bigger
quite, so through the chair, it's quite a different arrangement in Cambridge,
because of their
and
committees.
council has to put in, it's a bigger investment for council in Cambridge, and so that was reinstated in their budgets. So councillors were very much of a view they needed to even that up and make sure that the TA and Kiki communities would continue to benefit as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thanks, Ken.
And the other one was that the two eyesights get a one-off grant, okay, 30,000 each.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, that's at least a bit of a help.
And it is actually, it is a grant and it's one-off.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, so that was basically to get them up and running, to be self-sustaining, and possibly, we hope, in a year, so they can just
they can move
yeah,
on.
rather than leave them in the lurch. And
Yeah. And then what about around the things that we just asked if we could get some support from council for, like those projects that we listed?
We haven't really allocated any funds to any of
Well,
those
we
things.
didn't need any money.
No.
We just wanted permission to say that you would endorse us to be able to do it.
No,
we didn't want
we
any
didn't do
money.
that.
I don't think that was part of.
That wasn't part of our
That-
discussion.
We couldn't get
Okay.
into that.
We didn't get into
We're just
that.
going to work at those, Ange, I think, quietly.
Pardon?
We've just got to keep working at those projects,
Yeah.
you know, quietly, and it'll all happen. It's just the way we do it. I
But
think.
this was more about just funds and for what was actually
Yeah.
in the annual plan. For example, the Cambridge Tower, they've gone ahead with getting the resource consent to demolish it. However, we're open to options. And we've actually written that in the actual, motion that we passed, that we are open for options. So if somebody comes up with something they can do with it, or do it, we would look at it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that sounds promising. Okay, thank you for that. Right, anybody else been anywhere or done anything? I think Jill's got something pretty exciting. Well, have you got a record or not?
Oh, too right.
Yeah, see? And out of hamburger buns, wasn't it, instead of? Because they had a hiccup with the bun shape.
So on, with the youth program that I run, we just did something a little bit different on Monday, the 13th of May. We were on TV and in the newspapers, and we made the longest American hot dog in New Zealand to put Te Awamutu on the map. So it was 100 metres long and there was 700 American hot dogs inside. So I did it at the intermediate, and one of the classes helped with the youth program, and the 450 children demolished it very quickly. Like I tell you, I said, look, just have a couple of each. Well, a couple of them had a bit more than a couple, but we needed them all to be eaten anyway. So, but the students were absolutely wonderful and so well behaved that I've just made them all a certificate, because I thought you could give them a bit of chocolate, but they've made a New Zealand record, and it's something they'll remember for their life, so but they need to keep the certificate for life. So it was just a lot of fun, and it was just about showing that the youth can have fun without being on technology, and that they can work together as a team, and it worked really well. Yeah. So no, we've put Te Awamutu on the map. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really neat. So congratulations to everybody involved and the kids and stuff. And it sounded like it was a bit of fun down there with they had a big gutter, that you put it all in to hold it all together. So they'd got a whole lot of guttering, and I thought that was particularly
Yeah, so the
good
guttering was
idea.
all cleaned out from Mitre 10, and that's what we made it. The youth group's called Jenga, Jenga, and a few actually went onto the Facebook page, the actual the program on TV on Good Morning was, it's all on there, to see what happened and the photos of what it looked like afterwards.
Oh, nice. Oh, cool. I'll have to try and
Was it all eaten?
Too right. I didn't think it would be, but no, the kids were hungry. I tell you, those children actually get free lunches, but they don't eat a lot of them. They're quite soggy by the time they get them. So some of the kids were starving. So they kept saying to me, Miss, can we just have another one? I thought, well, they've got to go, as long as you don't get a tummy ache, you'll be right.
Yeah, no, pretty funny, I reckon. No, all good. Anyone else been at anything? John?
Yep, I've done a bit of a clean up around town. I went to Kiki, picked up the reefs from Kiki, picked up all the ones from the cenotaph down here, disposed of them, and on behalf of ComSafe, me and Gavin Dalzell have gone round and put neighbourhood watch signs back up on lampposts. And if there's a couple of dirty ones still floating around, Waipa Network have got to go and put them on, because we weren't touching them because of the wiring and other bits and pieces. So yeah, get me busy. And I've been back to the Alpha. The old bar that used to be in the Alpha, that's gone. There's a new floor down. We're just tidying all that up, and the next week our part of it will be finished. And just going back to our work, working bee to pick up rubbish. If we can't go to the sports ground, we could possibly ask Bill if we could use the Alpha for the.
Well, we probably still need to have a base out at Kihikihi anyway, so we're going to need two places.
Bill might be quite willing to open it up for us to have our morning tea or whatever things in the old restaurant, which is beautifully nice and tidy and clean, and it has been used for
Bernardo's.
who it is, but someone's in there for 14 weeks and it's getting used, so it's great.
Yeah, Bernardo's have got a Incredible Years program running there at the moment. So yeah, it's good to see it starting to be used. Cool. Anything that's Lou? Bruce, Lou? Lou then Bruce?
I get this all the time. Selwyn Village. We've had a plan at Selwyn Village where the hall is going to be actually taken away, and modified, so that it'll become two separate units. All right. So Bill Harris, myself and the team from council are going to be there on Thursday down there with the residents. And Bill's going to try and encourage them to utilise for their social events, etc., the alpha.
Great.
And there's a huge waiting list, as our staff will tell you, for that facility. And having, another couple of units, it's just going to mean 2 more people that can be relocated. So I think that it's not actually happened, but it is, and it's been passed, so it will happen. And the funding for that will come out of the trust, the Selwyn Village Trust. So it doesn't cost the community anything. It comes out of that trust that operates for the rentals and everything that comes through it. Okay.
Oh, nice. Bruce.
Angela, I've just got something, but it's outside reports of things I've been to, and I think Joe and Ken could sort it out. At our last meeting, I abstained from any discussion on submissions to the annual plan, enhanced annual plan, and the fees and charges, thinking then I could do battle and have comment in council. Well, no, both Lou and I got gagged at council again. We couldn't say anything, so I wonder my purpose, should we have big comment here and then get barred when we go to a council meeting because we've got conflict? Because we had double conflict. We couldn't do anything there, but I abstained here thinking I could contribute to council, but I couldn't.
So what? Okay, so that would be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Ken
So-
might be able to explain. Did I?
So, Chair, if I could
Yes,
just
please.
address that. Look, Bruce, we didn't, at council, neither you nor Lou were prevented from speaking in general about the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board. What we did say that you should not be involved in is that discussion over the funding. So how we reported earlier in this meeting that there was the continuation of the 2,000 for the sound system and the 5,500 additional discretionary funds. With the greatest respect, it was only that matter that it wasn't appropriate for you to speak on. Just like it wasn't appropriate for the 2 Cambridge councillors on the Cambridge Community Board, or for Claire St Pierre on the Parongi Award Committee, it wasn't appropriate for them to speak on that particular matter as well. But look, the rest was okay. It wasn't a general matter. It was just on those funding decisions, because look, it wouldn't be appropriate for you to speak in regard to those when it's that is money directly coming into the board. Yeah.
It's basically, you've got to be careful with the monetary parts, isn't it, really?
It is. Yeah. Yes, it is, because you could have fought for a greater amount of money or whatever. So it just wasn't appropriate in that sense. But that was the only part that you were barred from speaking on.
Lou and I are doing the right thing by abstaining in those situations that are here at community board.
Look, I would suggest that part of it was, the approach you took was a good approach, and that approach was taken quite consistently in regard to the councillors on the Cambridge Community Board and for Claire on the Parongi Award Committee as well.
Thank you, that's great.
Ken, just a little bit further clarity around that. Would Lou and Bruce, as the councillors, if it is financial, could they not show their support for us asking at this level, seeing as they're not going to be allowed to participate in that discussion by the councillors, but they could abstain from other parts of our recommendations, which would enable them to speak on our behalf to the other part of a submission?
Yeah. So look,
make sense?
Chair Ange, I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. To me, that's getting pretty messy, really.
I know. I'm thinking,
look, I think the approach that was taken was correct. These 2 gentlemen took no part in formulating or signing off on the submission that was made, and I appreciate that submission did in part ask for an increase in or for a return of some of your discretionary funds. So they did abstain from that. But then obviously it was as Bruce said, a bit of a double whammy in terms of not being able to speak on financial matters at council either. But of course they could have been involved in other aspects of the discussion in regard to community boards, just not those financial ones. The officer advice was that they really should refrain from speaking on those. Yeah.
Yep. It was just, the reason I asked that was because when we did some of our community board work with Dr. Stephen Finlay, he said that there are times when you would participate, that you would choose where you could be most effective. But I haven't quite managed to identify a scenario where that would be. So I'm sort of trying to find different scenarios where, when we're coming back with a recommendation to council, where, it's not just a choice thing, but where you could be potentially, because he said there will be times where the councillors are more effective by showing their support when it comes through as a recommendation. But
So look, I'm just sort of imagining out loud where that might take place, and perhaps look, if there was a significant project in the Te Awamutu or Kihikihi communities, like an outside project, that the TA and Kihikihi Community Board was very keen to push ahead with, or to see achieved. I mean, in that situation, perhaps these two gentlemen could abstain from that submission or pushing for that project around this table, and that would enable them to speak on behalf of their community or on behalf of this community in the council environment. I think the actually, I can see that there is a difference in regard to actually appealing for a greater amount of discretionary funds for this committee. I think that's distinct from perhaps a community project. Yeah. So that that's just off the top of my head as an example. Yeah,
and it's always personal choice of those councillors around the table, and they might for some reason feel so passionately about a submission that you're making that is either they want to take part in the decision making around this table and then abstain when we get round the council table. But it really is up to them and how they feel on that particular matter, because it's all personal choice really for them.
Cool. All right. Does
Let's
that
face it, a
help?
lot of successful businesses don't do their business around a table. It's outside the environment that you have discussions off record.
Yeah, but I hope that, I hope that helps. Yeah. All right. So just very quickly, of course, I went along to Anzac Day, and it was once again a really well-run ceremony. Thanks, Lou, to all of the amazing hard work that you do to organise that, and the team of people that you have around you. It's always an honour to get to put the wreath out on behalf of the community board. I recently popped out to Kihikihi to meet with Dawn Ingalls, with Eric, and with Councillor Marcus Gow and Councillor Claire St. Pierre, and we had a little look around and had a bit of a chit chat about what was going on the cycleway, just sort of some whys and what falls as to some of the reasoning behind what they were doing. Some of the concerns that are coming through in regard to the width, both Dawn and Eric assured me that as long as the vehicles go slow enough, there actually is enough width for the trucks to get through. The choice around grass was just to keep it a little bit greener. We pointed out that people are still doing UEs outside the Space Centre, so hopefully that's not going to result in a fairly critical accident, because already before it's even finished, Dave commented that someone came around the corner, went to do their UE, and of course the road's nice and skinny, so they couldn't get all the way round, so they went to back across the road, and a car was coming around, so there was a bit of a stop. But they didn't manage to hit each other. So let's hope that it just continues to be a lot of near misses, or people realise that they can go around Church Street, which would be a lot safer. But from the sounds of things, what people do is they come down, they realise they've gone the wrong way, they choose to use Whitmore Street as the UE, and and have, you know, that's what they currently do. So, and go back the other way. But hopefully that will work itself out. What other good things? The extra parks down by the Kihikihi school, where the cars used to all park on the grass. So that's all now nicely paved, which looks incredible. They're a little bit behind, and that's due to the fact that they are also addressing some curbing and access issues for getting in and out of properties. There were a few places along Whitmore Street in particular where it was very high, so your car would often belly. So there's been some of that remedial work done at the same time, but it's tracking along, and hopefully when it's all finished, it's certainly going to be a lovely surface to ride on. I don't have a bike, so I won't have the privilege of doing that, but it looks very flash, and it is. Dawn assures me it's because I said, oh, I haven't seen any of this anywhere else, and she goes, no, it's not really anywhere. We're one of the first to have such a cycleway, so maybe that could be a good way to try and encourage people to like it, is to say, well, we're first, so we're setting the path for the future. So that was the cycleway, Anzac Day. I was just contacted yesterday by Joy's surname from business. I've just had a mental block.
Actually, I believe it's Mickelson, Joy Mickelson, our Economic Development Advisor.
Yes,
Yeah.
So Joy approached me yesterday to ask if I would endorse us being selected for a Reserve Bank trial. And it's a trial where they're putting in money machines into small towns or villages that don't have a bank or currently have any access to money. And so Kihikihi qualifies. And she's approached one of the businesses out there, what are they called? Mental block. On the exact name of not the super app, but it's called Kiki something fresh, but I just can't think of the full name, sorry. So they're keen to support it. So the application will get put in by the end of this week. So that would be a really awesome thing if Kiki got selected. So fingers crossed, because that would, I know that just as an example, there was an elderly lady who currently, because of the work on the road, was telling me recently how she only goes out every 2 to 3 weeks because she's too scared to back out onto the road with the traffic and, like the roadworks, cones, etc. So she basically doesn't go out. So for somebody like that, it could be quite handy that she could walk up to there and be able to get some money and just be able to maybe do some groceries at the shop there, if that was the way she likes to do her shopping, for example. But I thought that was pretty neat. And I wanted to show you this. So you may have seen these, I'm not sure. So these are survival blankets made out of chippy bags. And the reason I wanted to show you guys at Community Board is because I know we have some very talented green-fingered people in our community board. And I'm sure we have plenty of people that eat chippies. But this is basically a survival blanket that has been made with chippy bags that have been fused together by foil fusion, which is basically an iron on low heat. And the cover is plastic so that they're waterproof, and it's actually single-use plastic from Mitre 10 that then is sealed around the chippy bag. So it's warm and waterproof and colourful. And what the organisation, which is called Chippy Packet Project, it started in England, in the UK, and this lady, Tarina, has brought it to New Zealand, and she's going around the whole country And they ideally need they've worked out, they need 360,000 of these to give to homeless people. They're also hoping that they might be able to sell some to go in people's cars instead of those little aluminium single-use, what do you call them, survival blankets. These can be patched, so if you get a hole in it, you just get a new piece of plastic and foil fusion it and fix it. So they actually can be used again and again and again. But what a great way to not put our chippy packets in the rubbish. So if anybody's watching, if you don't want to make them yourselves, you can drop chippy packets at the CAB. If you'd like to know more, it's called chippacketproject.org, and they'll tell you, NZ actually, chippacketprojectnz@gmail. But yeah, but I just thought that was a really neat thing, and I wanted to show you guys in case you thought that it was a cool idea as well. And all of them get a message inside. So this one was called You Toasty Beast, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, so they were saying that people could iron strips together, or they might like to make all of them, school projects, different organisations, church groups, etc. So it's pretty cool. And they also make a little chippy bag to keep it in. So yeah, yeah, that's the chippy bag project, but I thought it was pretty cool and I just wanted to show you. So that's me.
We haven't got chippy packs here, we've got Werther's Originals too.
Yeah, I mean, anything. I was actually had one of those LCM thingy bars, and I thought, oh, you could make, you know, do a strip of those. You just have to wash the bags, and then apparently just with a low heat, you can do strips, and then, yeah. But it's all how to do it on here.
I haven't reported on where I've been and what I've done, so I'm going to go on this waste thing. I've done a few meetings, SPMP and the SD in the Memorial Park and urban miners, and I think that's about it. But just wondering with regards being the waste portfolio, myself on the community board, this is fantastic, Ange. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. But in the EAP, the Enhanced Annual Plan, there's funding for the Resource Recovery Centre. And just wondering, there is also a feasibility study that was for it allocated by All Heart New Zealand for the 23-24 financial year. So just wondering if there has been any progress with that, and if we can have any staff member come and talk to us about the feasibility study for the Resource Recovery Centre and with progression being.
Yes, yeah. So look, unfortunately, neither me nor Joe have great knowledge on that. So look, it would be in the it would be a Brian Hudson or a Dawn Ingalls. So look, no, I'd suggest that Joe notes that in the minutes, makes contact with Brian and Dawn, and let's just see if we can pop it on your next agenda. Yeah, you happy to note that, Joe? Yeah.
And just speaking of that, when we were at the strategic policy and planning meeting, there was some discussion around that, and Cambridge Community Board are quite keen to be doing some work in regard to a resource centre. And I did a little bit of follow-up after that, and Mayor Susan was saying that there is already a site for a resource centre that looks like it would work really well in Cambridge. So the thinking is that the actual resource centre would be located in Cambridge, but we could have like a depot collection point here. And so it possibly, if the community board is interested in exploring that, that is something that the councillors were all very supportive of us working sort of alongside Cambridge, or on our own, however we choose to do it, but to investigate that further and have that as being a project that the community board contributes to being something that's currently in and accepted in the long-term plan. And I did say, look, that probably would be something that would appeal to us, because it's one of our strategic priorities and has been for quite some time. And it ties in really nicely with our efforts to look at waste minimisation. So, if you guys are keen, we can definitely have some further discussion around that. We can sort of get something put together, but it probably would be a good idea to start with Dawn or Brian
Yes.
or Shelley and just have someone sort of give us a starting point, so we're not just going off in our own direction and actually going in the opposite one. Yep, cool. Yep, sounds good. All right. If there's nothing further on board member things that we've been to, Sally, that's, yep, all good. We now get to move on to the date of the next meeting, which will be 6 p.m. on Wednesday, the 26th of June, 2024. And I hopefully have did you notice? I've remembered my karakia whakamutanga. So, kua mutu a mātou mahi, mō tēnei wā, mana kitea, mai mātou katoa, o mātou hoa, o mātou whānau, ai o ki te aorangi. Our work is finished for the time being. Protect us all, our friends, our family, and peace to the universe. Amen. So that closes our meeting at 6:57. How's that for a speedy one? And we did a bit of chatter chopping. And if anyone wants to go to the loo or just give your legs a quick stretch, we will be going on to our local alcohol policy workshop with Mika. So I wouldn't mind a quick loo stop before we start the next bit.
Try to get it cut away.
Oh,
If
yeah,
that's
yeah.
all right.
Oh, gosh,
Joe
yes.
will start
Yeah,
us
yeah,
all,
no,
but-
no. Business cards on here that I had in, maybe I didn't bring them.
You need to have somebody to try, so, you know.
Yeah, yeah. All my life. Yeah, right.
Right, so we've gone live, so we're-
Hi, Mika. Right, everybody listen up. Mika's there, ready to go. All yours. We'll take it as I presume everybody has at least read some of Mika's policies and documents and things like that we were given. So all yours, Mika. Thank you.
Cool, kia ora, thank you. Yes, so just following up on the local alcohol policy. So you guys have seen this before. You submitted on during the engagement. The draft that is sitting in front of you is a combination of the workshops that we've done, following on from the recommendations that were made from the regulatory agencies, so the police, medical officers of health, and the licensing inspectors. And then during March, there was engagement on 3 very specific questions that came out of the workshops. So the feedback from the engagement has now been incorporated into the draft. And there are a few changes, but I guess the important thing to note is that there aren't that many substantial changes. A lot of it is just formatting and clarifying what's already there. So you've also been handed a table of changes, so that just sort of sets out clearly where bits have changed or why they've changed. And so I guess the format for this evening is going through some of the discussion points that have been pulled out in that table of changes. So the discussion points are the main bits that have changed, or items that you should be aware of that, or that you might want to be aware of that have changed. And so just talking through those points, and then afterwards it'll be open if you picked up anything else that you'd like to talk about in the draft. Happy for any feedback. So happy with that approach.
Yep, that sounds good.
Sweet. So discussion point 1 is referring to section 3.3.2 in the clean version, or the new proposed draft, and that is inclusion of condition that renewal of licenses can be effected if the District Licensing Committee and ALA consider there has been a substantial change in the operation of the off license. So basically what that means is for off licenses, renewals are unaffected unless these agencies believe that there has been a substantial change to how they operate. And that can look something like a restaurant becoming a tavern, which have different risk ratings in the licensing sphere. Happy with that change?
Yeah, I think so. Anyone have any comments or any concerns around that? I thought that made sense to me. Yep. Okay. Yep, that sounds good.
Sweet. Discussion point 2 refers to 3.3.3 in the clean version. Feedback received during engagement indicated that the distance between off-license premises and sensitive facilities such as schools should increase from 40 metres. With the current wording of the policy, these premises will still be eligible for a license if they can demonstrate the impact will be no impact other than to a minor extent. So this was quite telling because the 3 questions that were engaged on were not actually related to schools, but there were a few points that came back. specifically talking about that distance and how off licenses should be further away from schools. What came out of working the same point with councillors and with Cambridge Community Board is that potentially adding in wording that give the district licensing committee more discretion on this matter might be the way forward. So not necessarily changing the distance, because it's quite a neither here or there really. It's more the impact of having that school close to the off license that changes quite a lot from license to license or premises to premises. And so handing the district licensing committee that discretion might make more sense. Any thoughts?
Comments?
Maggie, you've got from 40 metres. What does that mean, from 40 metres from a school?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or it's any sensitive facility. So it is also places of worship, marae, rehabilitation treatment centres, but schools were the ones that were specifically mentioned during the engagement.
My thoughts are that, you know, once the impact's happened, it's too late. And how do you measure a minor extent?
So the reason for that wording, I guess I'll just clarify, sorry, that the minor extent is directly from the Act. And so there is case law on what that means. And by using that wording, it means that council encourages the district licensing committee to go to the case law that's already been established for that to figure out what minor extent is, basically.
Cool. I just was going to ask, with the inclusion of rehabilitation treatment centre, is that just to be added, or is that instead of that social services? Because just as an example, we currently don't have a rehabilitation treatment centre. What we do have is we have drug and alcohol counselling, we have a service, but we don't actually have a rehabilitation treatment centre. So is that narrowing it down a little bit too much? I mean, it's not to say that someone might not start one, so therefore it would be a good thing to include, but I was just wondering if instead of being quite so specific in the wording, is it worth, you know, wording it more loosely to be, you know, like a social service, social service or mental health, or social services and mental health, or something along that type of wording.
Yeah, no, good point, Ange. So just to be clear, the current definition of rehabilitation treatment centre that's in the draft is means a residential support houses and inpatient or outpatient specialist units that primarily provide support or treatment of alcohol, drug or substance abuse or addiction, but to avoid doubt excludes general practice clinics or medical centres. So this is actually a term that has come up over and over, like what should the definition really be? I guess what's ended up in there is because those treatments, I guess, for example, Alcoholics Anonymous, they might meet anywhere. They could meet in the library.
Or they meet at the church.
Yeah, and just because of the nature of that possibly moving around like that, you don't want to put undue responsibility on the licensed premises necessarily, because they can't, you know, they are where they are, and but these places could move, and so that's why it kind of is like it is. But I get what you mean, like you want to capture all those services, but practically it can be quite difficult to enforce.
Okay, no, that's fine. It was just because, yeah, when I read it, I went rehabilitation treatment centre. I didn't realise that was quite, it encompassed what I wanted anyway, actually. So I was looking at that as more of an actual place, like Grace's Gate in Auckland or Nova Trust in Christchurch. So I was thinking of it more as the actual rehabilitation centre. But if that clearly covers those drug and alcohol counselling and any related services to drug and alcohol within that, then yeah, that's probably fine. Yeah. That was
Cool, yeah.
just my comment around
No,
there.
that's good. Yeah, I would encourage you to maybe just I always find it quite difficult to read these things on the fly, but maybe just have a good read of that definition and see if that does do what you want it to do.
Yep, I'll double check. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have another look at it. I just, to be honest, I've been pretty pushed, so I really, I shot through this pretty quickly. So anything that was more glossary based, I haven't read yet. So, and then I'm probably with Cambridge on the, rather than specifying a distance as such, it could be based on the is it impacting or is it not? It's probably quite a good way to do it, but I'm happy to go with the flow there. Anything further about that?
So happy for
Hmm. Hmm.
sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
There's a huge amount of information there, Mika, of just what, you have to comply with sensitive, facilities or factors. And there's a huge amount on the next page, so what it all complies means. So, yeah. It depends really on locations, I think, you can think of a specific area, but we're covering a whole area. So we've got to have some, ability to be able for the committee to be able to have some leeway.
So happy to add in, I mean, the final look of this will come past you again, but happy for a clause to be inserted in there in the nature of the district licensing committee has discretion.
Yeah, definitely.
certain-
That was very much what we felt was
okay.
important, that they have that ability. And I do also like a statement, like sensitive facilities and community facilities. I like the fact that that's included because that does allow for that any organisation that may have sensitivities around the licence have got the ability to be able to comment and say something from their perspective. And then if the licensing committee then can, just be enabled to take on that information to then make their final decision, I like that. Because I think that was something I found a bit frustrating with the existing one, was that unless you had a very specific reason, like you had to have a really very specific reason to be able to comment, like that you were across the road from it or you were directly affected. I think this just allows a little bit more there. So, yeah, that's just my penny's worth. Thank you.
Cool. I'm happy to go on to number 3. So discussion points number 3 is referring to 3.5, and that is implementing a cap for town centres for new off licenses. So this is again coming directly from the engagement, where there was sort of a clear majority leaning in this way. We're happy for caps. I believe Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board also supported this. So yeah, implementing a cap for just those specified areas that are indicated in the draft. So that's just for the town centres. And yeah, a couple of things that have been discussed around this. This would only be for, well, it will be for 6 years because that's the length, the lifespan of this policy. And after 6 years, it will get reviewed. There was some discussion about, you know, what time frame should this be? Again, coming down to practicality, the lifespan of the policy is 6 years. You can see what it looks like for 6 years. If it doesn't work, you change it. If it really doesn't work, you can change it earlier. And so it's not a forever thing necessarily. And yeah.
Sorry, Mick, if one of them drops off and closes, can another one come in then?
Yes.
It's just a number.
I just wanted to make one comment in going through the submissions, and that was from the Cambridge Business Chamber. They made an interesting comment that a possible downside for capping the town centres was that it could create an entrenching of existing operators and deter entry of better ones. And I just wanted to put that out there. I mean, I know as a community board, we felt that capping them we were very supportive of that option. I think my personal feeling is I'm still in that camp, but I just thought that was an interesting perspective and wanted to put it out there that, you know, like, do we see that as being an issue? I tend to think that if existing operators aren't very good, they're going to get the heave-ho naturally anyway. I don't know how well they will entrench because we definitely have enough competition. But that's just my personal opinion. But I just thought it was an interesting perspective and one just worth considering before we finalised our viewpoint here.
I'd just make a comment with that this is only in the town centres, the
Yes.
identified
Yeah,
town
yeah,
centres.
yeah,
So
yeah.
someone can go, you know, past the
Somewhere else.
50K
Oh,
and put
yeah.
one up. Okay.
If they get permission. Yeah. But yeah, it was, as I say, it was interesting. So, yep. But we're still happy. We're still happy with that. Cool. Yep. No,
Sweet.
discussion point number 4.
Cool. Yeah, and yeah, I just wanted to add to what Lou said as well. Yeah, that it was a good point by the Chamber of Commerce. But it is quite a small border or like little area, and the reason that area is chosen is because it's pretty full already. So it's unlikely for any more to open, or like you said, if the market pushes out the not so good ones and better ones can come
Yeah.
in.
I
But
tend to think there's still room for that. But yeah, just quite thought, I hadn't thought of that really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good point. Discussion point 4. So the hours. So currently the hours for off licenses, again, this is a engagement question. The current hours are 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. The hours that were suggested, they came back through the engagement. There was quite a broad range of hours.
There was.
Yeah, but there was a clear indicator at the start and the end of the day. So I guess just to reflect that, it was suggested to go out for consultation with 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. So chopping an hour at the start of the day and the end of the day, just for off licenses. General feedback that came back from councillors and community board is that perhaps sticking with the current hours would be better because there's not really that much to indicate that it would be beneficial to change the hours. The only thing that's really pushed chopping an hour at the end of the day was that feedback from the regulatory agencies that said that if there is evidence that alcohol bought after 9 p.m. is more likely to contribute to alcohol-related harm. But the sort of, feedback from councillors and Cambridge Community Board was perhaps leave it as is, but really draw attention to those hours during the formal engagement, the formal submissions, and say, is this what you're happy with?
Comments, Lou?
Just to explain the councillor's point of view, that was just from the supermarket saying that the logistics of having to close their off licence till 8 o'clock and also close it when they trade to 10 o'clock. That was one of the concepts that we actually brought up, didn't it? That was brought up with you, Mika, that we thought of the supermarket having to actually isolate that area just for that time. So.
And that, I think that was why we sat with the 7 till 10.
Ice cream for you.
Yeah, however, I did find it quite interesting today on a trip down to Patararu with a lady I was taking to a empowerment program, and she noticed that the off licence was open and commented on the fact that it was already open, and it was at that point just before 10 o'clock. And she made the comment, why are they open so early? They don't need to be open that early. And then went on to comment that the only people really that go buying grog either really early or really late were the people that were drinking excessively. And as a person that had previously been in that environment, said pretty much that was their time, because they had already drunk everything, it was their opportunity to go back and have another crack at it, or for those people that she knew that were hard on the booze were cracking it out at 7 o'clock. And that made me go, oh, maybe we should be tightening the hours. But it's that balancing act. And, you know, are we pandering to the supermarkets by doing this? Don't know, but the actual harm and this is only one anecdotal example, but supported by, sorry, Mika, who did you say that said any alcohol bought after 9?
The medical officers of health, police and licensing inspectors.
So there's actual data there showing that extra hour after 9 o'clock. Yes, it's an inconvenience, but what's more important, the inconvenience at the supermarket or the well-being of our community? My leaning would be to knock it off early.
I think it actually might work because the supermarkets, yes, they'll jump up and down, but you can't take it out through the checkouts anyway. I don't know if they shut it up too much, but they just won't be able to check it out, so you won't be able to buy it. People will get educated.
Yeah.
Hopefully, but they'll will check.
I mean, my leaning would be to reduce the hours, but that's just my personal opinion. So where are we sitting, people?
Well, personally, I think we should just be like Australia and not sell it in the supermarkets at all.
Well, yeah, good luck with that for this point in time. We can't drive that with our local alcohol policy, can we? No supermarkets
every
in
supermarket
Waipā.
had an off licence outside though.
Yeah.
Everyone.
No
Oh,
supermarket.
they do right outside the supermarket, but they don't open at 7 in
Yeah.
the morning though either.
And this is clearly what our community have indicated because I kind of got a bit confused going through those submissions. I'm like, oh, some of them are 7, some of them are later, some of them, and you know. So was the 8 to 9 the most popular time in the end, Mika?
Yeah, it was like you said, it was quite confusing going through all of the different times. So what we ended up doing is putting all the suggested times into a graph, which is included in your memo.
Oh, sorry, I didn't spot that.
No, that's all good. But yeah, if you do want to have a look later, you can see sort of, you know, it's not super clear, but what is clear is the 1 hour in the morning and the 1 hour in the evening. People were not very supportive of.
And I know that the liquor store that I actually spoke to, they were, you know, they certainly didn't mind if they didn't open, weren't able to open at 7 o'clock in the morning, and in fact, they don't. But, yeah, they were quite supportive of the reduced hours from a couple of perspectives, from a safety perspective as well, actually. The one I spoke to.
Yes, we did engage with the all the licensed premises specifically as well. Not all of them came back to us, but we did reach out, and that was something interesting as well. That a couple of bottle stores did say they were supportive of a later opening hours. I guess for the supermarket, one of their main concerns was, I mean, they have to be designed to sort of block off the alcohol section. And yes, you can just make it so that you don't go through the checkout. But one of the things they were worried about is that aggression towards staff. That, say you were standing in the line and like 5 minutes to 9 or whatever, and by the time you get there, it's past 9, and then you can't buy your alcohol. It's just the impact on staff that might occur.
Well, there is that to take into consideration as well.
So would you support what sort of came from the councillors and the Cambridge Community Board, and leaving it as is, but really drawing attention to that during the formal consultation?
Yeah, I think so. What do you guys think? Happy to do that?
Leave it as is.
Leave it as is and just draw attention to it in the formal consultation and just see where it gets to.
What does that actually mean? Draw attention to it for the formal, what does that actually mean? And
You would, so with this draft, when it goes out for formal consultation, people will get the draft itself, and then with it comes what's called a statement of proposal. So basically a document that goes with it that explains what it is in layman's terms, and say what the main changes are. And so in that material, you'd say, look, this is one of the points that we've already engaged on. Still not clear what you want as a community. This is a possible alternative. Tell us what you think of this time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if it's going out to consultation, you might as well just leave it a little bit open, I think, for now, and then. Yep, okay. Number 5, Mika.
Okay. Sorry. Discussion point 5 refers to 3.8.1, and that is the closing of premises near schools and early childcare facilities. So this is a discretionary condition for off licenses only. It's just a point, I guess, that during the previous workshops we haven't had time to cover because there was so much to cover. It's something that was suggested by the medical officers of health and the licensing inspectors. And it's basically saying that for high, I'll just take a step back. When you apply for a license, during that process, you get given a risk rating, and that's dependent on what type of activities you undertake as a licensed premises. And so that's just standard as part of the process. You get given this risk rating. So this closing of premises near school, the wording should really be different. It's more like the trading hours of premises near schools. If you're a high or a very high risk premises, the district licensing committee can decide at their discretion if during school leaving hours, so if all the kids are going to school or coming back from school, that premises has to close, for example, from like 3 to 4 in the afternoon. But it is a discretionary condition, so it's not all off licenses will do this at this time. It's up to the district licensing committee to decide which ones they deem.
I think that would be a good option for them to have in there. With that discretionary condition, would it be something that just hypothetically, say there's a liquor store that is possibly having some trouble in regard to that they could then implement it for a period of time? Or it would only be done when they first open? So just say hypothetically that instead of the Waitomo getting where they did, say the liquor store license the off license had been approved there. So at that time when they approved the license, this would kick in and they may have said, right, we're going to implement this closing of your premises between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock while the kids are walking past and the childcare is being vacated. Would that be more of a scenario?
Just correct
Does
me
that
if I
make sense?
misunderstood what you're
No.
asking, but I think what would probably happen, so licenses, if you're a new license,
Yep.
you have your license for a year, and then once it gets renewed, you have it every 3 years. So it would probably, because it's a discretionary condition, I'm not 100% on this, but I feel like it would be for that whole first year. Like it
Right.
wouldn't be for just
Yep.
a part of it.
Okay.
But that is something I can double check for you, because it's just not quite my
Yeah,
area
no,
of
yeah.
expertise.
But that would make the most sense, Mika. I think that it would be for the period of the license that they probably.
Until the renewal.
Yeah. And then you would choose to either uplift it and take it off, say, or retain it for the following 3 years when it renews. That probably makes the most sense. Okay, cool. I quite like it. What does everyone else think? It's just an option, doesn't have to be used, so it's just a weapon you could weld if you wanted to. Yep, no, okay, so we're good with that? Okay, yes,
Sorry,
that's good.
sorry, what was the final on that? You'd
yep, we agree with you.
keep that in the draft?
Yes, please.
Okay. And that is all the main points.
Cool.
But yeah, if there is anything else that you notice, there is a couple other little things that Claire St. Pierre picked up on that just come a little changes to some wording here and there that just makes it a bit more consistent. It's also a suggestion just to change the naming of the appendix or the schedule, just so we're more clear what the maps identify.
Sounds like good. Clear sussing.
Yeah, other than that, there wasn't much else that Cambridge and councillors picked up on.
I was pleased about it being changed, that it's not just the frontage. Thank you. That was a big one for me, because my gosh, that was very stressful with that particular licensing situation that I got to be involved in. It was by a slither that, with the angle, it was really because of the angle of that building not being perpendicular to the street that actually enabled the Presbyterian Church to be considered where it was and managed to just be frontage. Like if it had been this way, it probably wouldn't have quite fallen within that percentage of the frontage. So, and I also felt at the time it was very unfair that the kindy, which was right behind it, could be so largely impacted, and it wasn't considered an issue because of its location, yet most people parked right outside where the liquor store was going to be, and potentially their car park would have been, So no, I was stoked with that, so thank you. I was like, yes.
I think it just better recognises that, you know,
Yeah.
it's the whole building is potentially impacting, not just that one
Absolutely.
side.
And especially when you take into consideration car parks and things like that, that could be, you know, the car park's not likely to be at the front, but actually that could be far more of an impact if the car park was at the back and then you had, you know, like for example, you may end up with a situation where you had a shared car park and so, you know, people with their grog under their arm and the kindy are all coming out into the same place, potentially. So no, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else got any other comments? No, we can let Mika go to bed. Head spinning and alcohol policy.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, no, thank you so much and all your wonderful explanations. And you obviously have got a very thorough understanding of this policy now. I don't think we've managed really to catch you out on any questions. You've always managed to have the appropriate answers. So thanks, Mika. Really appreciate it.
No
And it's
worries.
been,
Hey, Ange, you didn't
been
ask
great.
her how she got chosen for this role.
Oh, is there something
No,
about
I
that?
don't know.
Have
Unlucky
you got
last
some
one to start.
experience in this?
No. No, but I have to admit, Carl Tati has been amazing, teaching me all the ins and outs of alcohol licensing. Yeah, I would have been completely lost without him. But just in terms of next steps, for you guys, so this is, yeah, so we're going to take your feedback, take the feedback from the councillors and the Cambridge Community Board. They all pretty much line up, so make those changes. And then still need to go to the Parongia Award Committee, and then hopefully final sign off from Strategic Planning and Policy Committee at the start of August on the final version of the draft and that document that's going with it to explain it when it goes out for formal consultation. And then formal consultation hopefully will be sort of August, September, and that'll be open for about 4 weeks. So yes, another chance to submit on it if you so wish.
Cool.
Cool.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate
Jen.
your time and all your hard work. It's certainly been a big overhaul, eh?